it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about mixing stamp companies and, scale of stamps, I guess. And maybe also making snowy cards that have nothing to do with Christmas. This card is a winter scene. I know we're in the middle of my Christmas series, but this is not a Christmas card. It could be. You could use it for that. But this is MayMay Made It. It's called Gather. It's a beautiful stamp set. I absolutely love this church. And the scene building trees and stuff that come with this set are really kind of amazing. But I wanted to make more than just a hilly scene. I wanted to use this cabin. When I seen this church the very first time she revealed the stamp set, I thought, oh my gosh, I bet this snowy little cabin would look super cool. It's like a parsonage for the church. This little cabin is an Altenew stamp, and it was a free gift in 2015 when you purchased whatever. I'm not sure if it's still available. I honestly haven't even looked for it, but this isn't really about the stamp sets that I'm using. It's more about looking at scale of stamps. Now that cabin is way smaller than the church. If you put them next to each other, you could tell that they definitely are not the same scale. But if I put the cabin way on a hill, it's fine. It's perfect. It makes the scale of the church, perfect. So this card is kind of a different setup for me. Usually I don't do like scene cards, first of all, and I don't usually do a bunch of masking, or they're just tedious and time consuming. And it's not that I don't love them, because I do, but it's just not something that I gravitate toward. And neither is how I'm going to color this. I'm not going to use my Copics. I know, right? What I'm going to be doing is some, kind of cheat watercoloring. I'm going to be using my Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers on this Bristol Smooth cardstock, which is why I chose this VersaFine Onyx Black ink. It stamps beautifully, but it also is water-based marker friendly. So I stamped out some trees and my little cabin and masked things so that, it looked like a real scene. And then this is this cute little path, and it lines up with the door of the church. In the still shots, you'll see that I didn't exactly line it up perfect, but it's fine. And I just made sure that I had left enough room there for my sentiment, because I planned on stamping it there. And I wasn't sure where to start because, like I said, this is outside of my normal. Usually I work with my Copic markers or paper piece, or I have these markers. I've had them for a long time. I use them, but they are not my go-to. So I decided to start with the church and then the cabin. The church, I wanted it to look white, but I used a really light gray and then just put in shadows. And then I did the brown of the cabin. And then here I'm adding a really light blue to all of the shadows from the snow hill, because you see that cabin in the back has a snowy roof. So I knew this needed to be a snow scene. And I wasn't sure that this church was drawn to be a snowy church, but I figured evergreens are always green, so I could just make the bushes green, that evergreen color, and it would be fine. So here is my sky. I started with this really deep blue, and you see me blending a few colors together there on the side, because of all things, I have not swatched these at all, which is probably why I don't reach for them as often. I use my color or my Copic chart all the time when I color, and maybe I should just take a clue from all of the people that use these and swatch things. And Mary Polanco and Courtney Krieger and Amy Raisavi and everybody that I can think of swatches all their things, and I don't. So here I was putting in some like shadows where I thought the trees would kind of cast a little bit of shadow on the snow. And then I wanted an additional little hill here. And I kind of switched back and forth between the colorless blender or the blender pen for my zigs and a water brush. Now here I was adding a glow to the inside of the church windows. And this green marker here is one that my now 4-year-old used to draw on my chair in my office, so it doesn't have the greatest tip. So getting in small areas is kind of a thing, but it worked fine here, and I haven't found the need to replace it yet, so it's just still hanging out. I used some browns, couple of browns to do the trim and the roof on the church. I figured even if it was a snowy day, the church would be kind of cleaned off. I know the path would be shoveled because my pastor makes sure that the path is shoveled at my church. So every pastor or church would probably do that. I also added a little bit of glow from the window onto the snow because if the light was shining out of the church, I think it would shine onto that white snow, especially since it's reflective. I added a red door to the church because I thought that was kind of cool. And I also made sure I added a little glow to the cabin. Now here, I was just making sure that my sentiments still fit. And I did realize that I didn't color the path, and that that die that I had planned on using, it wasn't going to do what I wanted. That's a mama elephant die, and it's going to cut just a frame out. So I pulled out my Gina Marie dies. They're going to give me basically the same edge, but they're going to give me an entire panel and not just a frame. So I die cut that out off screen, and I also cut a piece of black cardstock to mat this on, and then I decided that I needed to get my sentiment on here. And it's in 2 parts. The word gather is the most beautiful font, and I wasn't sure. Did I want gold? Did I not want gold? I decided that I thought maybe I wanted black, but I wasn't sure. So I figured if I stamped in VersaFine Onyx Black, and if I didn't like the way it looked, I could cover it with gold embossing powder because the gold would cover the black just fine. But I loved it, and I chose to use black embossing powder here because it's super crisp, and the images on this panel were really crisp and bold, and I didn't want it to, when you put clear embossing powder over the black, you kind of get this, I can't really describe it. It's like it's clear on top and it's not quite as crisp and black. So I used my Copic multi-liner there, which I need to replace, to kind of scribble in a little bit where the trees didn't stamp well because of my masking. And then I attached this to a panel, that panel black, and I pulled out some glitters here. I pulled out the snowy or white blizzard or whatever it is that Nouveau has. And I did the top of the cabin roof, and then I went along the edges of the snow and kind of outlined all of that. The glitter is different in these 2 glitter glues that I chose to use. This one has more of a, I guess, rainbow glitter in it. If you've seen the Nouveau glitter, you know that it's got like a almost iridescent. Rainbow iridescent kind of. You can pick up different colors in it. It's gorgeous, and I use it a lot. And then this one here is the clear one. What is that called? Morning Dew. I always think it's dry as clear because that's the big words on it, but it's not. I do find that I don't have as much trouble with my water-based markers underneath that than I do like glossy accents. And then I use this Darice glitter glue. It's thinner, so I thought it would be just nice to add just a little bit of sparkle to the trees and the bushes and stuff, like as if they were frosty. So here's some close-up shots of this card. Like I said, a winter card does not have to be a Christmas card, but it can be. And watch your scale. You never know what stamps you can put together. You don't have to stick to one company. You don't have to stick to the same size anything. You can make a really pretty scene. Anyway, I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. I can't wait to talk to you in the comments. And as always, give cards generously. Bye.